Hey everybody, welcome back to Frank Conversations. My name is still Zoe. All right, guys, I wanted to talk briefly about something that I've been thinking about for some time now, like the different types of racism that I have encountered and why the one in South Africa is just top of the range. It's like this one was taken. Um, it was literally offered by the racist gods to the Europeans in South Africa. You know, I lived in South Africa and worked in China and then in the US, right? And all those places, I've been there for more than 3 years. Yeah, more than 3 years. So I realized that there are pockets of racism in every society. When you're Black, you kind of get immune for some reason to racism, right? You are aware that you are you are somehow different, or you are somehow not the preferred choice of race, right? I'll tell you with my Chinese experience, right? When I was in China, before I went to China, I was in the US, right? And then from there, I went to China and then I worked there, right? And when we were in China, we were told as Africans that no, you must say you're from America, otherwise the parents are not going to. I was a teacher. The parents are not going to be very open to getting a African teacher or an African teacher teaching their child English and even though you bro, have you seen the teachers in this room? I'm the best thing you got, you know? But yeah, nah, that was the situation in China. And also, I have to put in that the level of ignorance is in China back then, this was in 2013. Yeah, around 2013. So back then, the level of ignorance in China was just ridiculous, to be honest. It's like you were walking in a twilight zone where people were just like, oh my God, it is Black, it is walking. What is this? You know? But as time goes on, or as time went by, you kind of or I kind of understood that, you know what, there is elements of racism, but a lot of it is ignorance. I do know some instances I reacted to them, and because sometimes you just get tired of accepting ignorance over racism, right? And so you get called, children will be like, oh, or parents or grandparents will they want to touch your hair, they want to see if your skin color comes off and whatnot, right? And if you know me, I'm one person that does not allow people to touch me. Don't touch me, don't touch my hair, don't do that because I'm not your friend. Let's not do that. But in China, it's you can do that only for so long, because in a space of 5 minutes, 59 people would want to touch your hair. 59 people want to take a picture with you or of you, And when it came to the racist part of it, you get people who are oh, you are a Black ghost. I mean, obviously you learn these words as you go, what do these people keep telling me? Why do these people keep calling me this? Hey Ren, Black person, and you just, I remember I didn't want to learn Chinese because I was I don't want to hear what these people are saying. I think that's the only thing that's going to make me enjoy my stay in this country. But it was not as bad, as in South Africa still. It was fine. I spent about 4.5, 5 years in China, and I got used to it, right? I got used to the ignorance. I got used to, it was not abusive. It was very much in your face. It was very much here. Like there were no boundaries. Chinese people don't have boundaries. I don't know, maybe now in 2024 it's different, but they didn't have boundaries and whatnot. But you kind of understand that, you know what, you watch the TV and it makes sense that, okay, there's not a lot of me on that TV. There's not a lot of my people on TV. And even for like Europeans or Americans, they treated them like gods. You know, they were like, oh my gosh, like those blue eyes, those green eyes, you know, that blonde hair, you know, they loved them, you know, but you understood, like, if you were from Africa, or if you were from South Africa, whatever, you kind of like understand the different, you know, the difference between people and liking your skin tone or not, right? And I'm a dark person, so I kind of like was just like, okay, whatever, I'm here to make money, and that was that. But it wasn't like horrible. Some people were genuinely like trying to like find out about me, about my skin tone, about my hair and all of that. They were genuinely interested in me telling them about myself, you know, where I come from and, you know, how things are there and whatnot. You know, people were just like, oh my gosh, you've got such beautiful skin, you got such beautiful teeth, you've got, you know, and you kind of like understood that it's more of, like I said, it's a more, I don't know you. I don't know your kind of people, more than it was like racism. Like I said, there's a lot of racism there, but you get a lot of ignorance. I don't know if I can say it's mixed together, or you get more ignorant people and then you get racist people and then you get like normal people, you know? Because at the end of the day, my kids loved me for who I am. And a lot of parents loved me because I'm just that good at what I was just that good at what I did. And it didn't really matter where I came from or who I was or what color I was or what race I was, you know? So that was China. Now moving to America. And this is where things got a little, okay. Because when you go to America, especially if you are South African, right? When I left South Africa, right, I left China and I came back home, and from home I went to America. When I went to the US, right, I before I left, I had like a few white friends, I could say, or uh, acquaintances, maybe. Let's say that. And we were good, you know, we'd spend time together and do whatever, you know, kids play together and all of that. And I left, and you'd think, okay, we have each other's numbers and all of that. The kids we'll continue having this relationship that we have, right? And then went to America. And then and this was not my first time in America, mind you, right? I've always had like friends in America, like white friends and black friends and everything like that in America that I left way before I went to China. I'm back in America and I'm experiencing a different kind of America because I'm older and I'm making different decisions. Like I'm going to like work in not a program, but with people I don't know, right? And I make friends, and I make friends with everyone, like Hispanics, black people, and white people. And what caught me off guard, not off guard, but it was a genuine surprise, was that my white friends in America, when I spoke about racism, they didn't take it personal. It was not like a personal jab to them. And you could see that these people are very interested in what I have to say. You know, I spoke to a lot of people, and some of them were older than me. And I was just like, okay. And I kept continuing with these conversations about how different it is in South Africa, how different the dynamics of Europeans living in South Africa and Africans living in South Africa, right? How different the dynamics are, and how rare you would find like mixed people in South Africa. And I'm like not talking about colors now. I'm talking about like literally somebody who is maybe Zulu and being with like a European person and like having kids and whatnot. That's what I'm talking about. There's not a lot of those dynamics in South Africa, but in America there's a lot, like a lot. And so like I would see these differences, and I would talk to my friends about them, you know, even my black friends, but more especially the white people in America, because I wanted to know, is it everybody who acts like these Europeans in South Africa, or is it just them that seem to be innately racist, you know? And I would talk to my white friends, and I'd tell them, you know, there's this political party that I'm voting for, I'm going to vote for, and they advocate for this, that, and the other because of this. That. Oh, really? That's so tight. That's so nice, you know, and they'd want to know more, you know, and the conversation of white farmers would always come up. And I'd be like, I mean, it's not necessarily the truth, because it's not just the farmers that are being unalived in South Africa, it's the farm workers as well. So South Africa is right now has a lot of crime, you know, and farms are very on the outskirts of the obviously the mainland, or not mainland, but the inner city or the inner whatever. So it's an opportunistic crime, if I may put it that way, that people are, you know, getting into. It's not that. And we found out recently that security companies are behind a lot of those of people, right? Security companies, which are not owned by Black people. So whatever information it is that you are getting, just try to verify it as much as you can. Try asking like a South African, preferably not like a Caucasian one, you know? Maybe you might find some truth in whatever it is that you're asking for. But crux of this whole thing was that none of my Caucasian or white friends in America took racism personally. It was not like when I spoke to them about me voting for the EFF and me exposing them to the EFF, I showed them videos, I showed them whatever of what Malema was saying. And it was nothing personal. I don't know if it's because they don't experience that kind of life here in South Africa or whatever, but they were like, oh, okay, the man is making sense. You know, he's a bit like, bit stern. But I mean, I'd be stern too if like I haven't had land in like more than 30 years of democracy, you know? And we talk about those kinds of situations, and I'd ask them about the situation or the racism or racial situations in America, and they would be open about it. I guess they won't be as open about it as maybe my Black American friends would be, but they would not. It would not be the fault of a Black person, you know? Yeah, to some extent, they want to blame them for certain things, but I don't know if it's the liberal part of them or what, but they don't, I don't know, they just don't want to separate themselves like that. I think what they are doing right now in America is that they are separating themselves based on status, you know, your level of guap, your level of status, you know, like, are we like higher middle class or whatever? It doesn't really matter whether you're Black or white. Are we like here together? Because I've been like in like, you know, at parties where my husband and I were the only Black people, and people that didn't care that we are the only Black people there, because we were in that space, it was like understood that these people are on the same level as us, and it had nothing to do with what you do, who you are, you know. They would ask like nice questions like, oh, you're saying you're from South Africa, which part of South Africa, and whatnot. It had nothing to do with like any racial anything. because we were all in the same, it seemed like we were all in the same bracket, if I'm putting it right, right? So it's more in America. The one thing I've realized is that it's more a social kind of like system, a society that is more social, where you are, like what are your accolades, more than it is like you black, you are automatically written off, you know. Unlike here in South Africa, you can go look for a job wherever and you are black and you are automatically written off. And that's what I could see. I mean, there are like pockets, I'm not going to lie, there are still racial issues in America. I'm not even going to lie, but I'm just saying like the circles that I was in was very different. I don't know if it was because I was a foreigner, but I would think that because I was a foreigner, it would make it worse. But they were very different than here, which made me wonder that, Kanti, these ones who are living here in our country, what is the issue? And they would also ask me, what is the real problem going on in South Africa with white South Africans? Because they seem to not like you guys. They seem to be very racist. In fact, they come here and they're very racist. We can't have like conversations, like normal conversations with them, like social ills or issues that we are talking to you about, because it always ends up with like racial issues, like where they are like there's just disdain, in their voice about you, to a point where sometimes it makes us feel uncomfortable, So it's not just us in South Africa that feel like the Europeans in South Africa are obnoxiously racist. You go outside of the country and the people in those countries, especially the white people in those countries, will tell you like the white South Africans are obnoxious. We cannot stand them because of their racism, And that's what I was just like, maybe, hey man, there's something, man, in the waters in South Africa, particularly in the houses of white people. Because if people in other countries that look like them can say, then there's something wrong. There's absolutely something wrong. It's like they are entitled. It's like people who are entitled to a country. They're entitled to me. They are entitled to my space because, Mandela gave it to them. There's nothing I can do about it. They are entitled to my land, to my space, to me, to my soul. And as I'm like, there's just some kind of something, man. And these peoples, they are passing it on to their children. Because if you can hear a 16-year-old child, a 14-year-old child calling another child, an African child, a European child in South Africa calling another European child calling an African child in South Africa a kafir. Where did they get it from? We were liberated 30 years ago. Where did they get it from? And we want to pretend that we are a rainbow nation. Me, I'm done pretending. I'm done pretending. Because I'm going to these countries and I'm like, hi, man, it's not everyone. It's just these ones in this country. It's just these ones in this country. And we hear of all stories, people complaining about them online, people that look like them complaining that, man, they're nasty. People complain. So it's not us. And I think South Africa is just Africans in South Africa, or South Africans are so used to getting this abuse. They're so used to like, it's just they're accepting this abuse. It's like when a white person wants to be your friend, it's like, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot. There's no sense of pride in who we are anymore. There isn't. And unless you go outside of the country and you realize that, no, man, that's not normal. That behavior in South Africa is not normal. Unless you talk to people and they'll tell you, no, man, what you're doing, it's not normal. It's inhumane. Then we will always be at the helm of this BS. It's not right. It's not normal to live in a society where 7%, probably even less now, because a lot of them went to Israel and to all these other places in Europe. 7% of these people are top ranking people in society. Like, what in the actual, what? Our managers are like illiterate people, but they are qualified by their skin color. They are qualified because they are European. Black people hit the ceiling as soon as they get to 40. Degrees, experience, and all. As soon as you get to 40, you hit the ceiling in your career. It's not normal. It's not normal. There's racism all over. There's racism everywhere. I want to go to the UAE and I hear the racism there is just on steroids. But from the places that I've been in, South Africa is at right next to the devil. The racism in this country, and it's unjustifiable, because probably even less now of these people are holding us like this. Now they are in our government. Now people are showing off in the streets now. People are like throwing gang signs in the streets because they are in government. At some point, South Africa needs to wake up. It's not normal to be racially segregated. It's not normal. It's not normal for Black people to feel that they are constantly under the shadow of white people in South Africa. Like, there's not a lot of them. And I think it starts also from us teaching our children that that person can offer you absolutely nothing. I teach my children, though, those lessons, that never look at a person that doesn't look like you and say they are superior than you. Ever. You get it from me. I don't care who it is, whether they are older than you or not. Let's teach. If we are too scared to talk about these things, if we are too scared to act, let's teach our children that no. Don't ever allow yourself to be undermined by a person by a person just because of race. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit, because I'm just like, there's something that's not okay in South Africa. There's some bitter taste in this country. I don't know if it's because we just got our democracy 30 years ago, but it's long now. 30 years is a whole adult with children and a husband. It's long. And there's absolutely no reason for us Black people to be accepting this kind of behavior, whether at work, in the streets, anywhere. And I can't be by myself doing this. It has to be a lot of us. I mean, more than 80% of us are Black in this country, but yet we must bow. We are still bowing to white people. You should hear the conversations that people are having out here about white people. The racism in South Africa is nasty. White people in South Africa are nasty, to be honest. And I'm just going to say it like that. Say what you want. If I had not gone and experienced different kinds of racism, I probably would have the same views as everybody else in South Africa. But experiencing different types of races and different types of racism and different types of biases and prejudices, these ones are still the worst. These ones here are still the worst. And so I think these are conversations worth having. These are conversations worth having. And whether you take offense, that's on you. If you're not a racist, and this is another thing, like Caucasians in America, they will never take offense when I speak like this because this is how I speak. They won't take offense because, I mean, they're not racist, or at least they don't think they are. So they're not going to take offense of me saying like white people are racist. They won't. They're not going to say, oh, but I'm not. No. They listen to you and they understand where you come from with your viewpoint. Come to South Africa. They will block you. Come to South Africa. Oh, you're saying I'm racist. Oh, it's a personal. Now it becomes a personal thing. It's a personal thing. Which makes me think that, are you innately racist? Is this why you're taking it personal? Racism in South Africa is disgusting. It's disgusting. And I find South Africans even more obnoxious for allowing things like the Miss South Africa to get to where it's at, because you fight to take out a Nigerian Miss South Africa, but there's a European Miss South Africa. I think to some extent, we are part of the problem. We are part of the problem. I don't know why we have separation anxiety from these people. It's like when they say they're going to leave the country, we want to shake. No, they can leave. Why can't you live by yourself? Your ancestors lived by themselves and they did quite well. Look at you. You have their DNA and you're still alive. We are part of the problem. We need to sort it out. I thought this was going to be a short video, but it ended up being like a mini rant. But I think maybe take something from this. Before I forget, I think a lot of people who are overseas will also attest to this. When people call us by our names in America, in Europe, in different countries, they call us by our native names. Lerato, Palesa, Buhle Bendalo, Rifile, Rifilwe, Maandla. Those people outside of South Africa, they call you exactly like that. You won't find a Chipu, you won't find a Mabali, you won't find a Zinkle. No. Worst case scenario, they will ask you how to say it a couple of times until they get it. But they will say it right. Europeans in South Africa, you are the issue. Accompanied with these ones who are scared that you will leave them high and dry. You are an issue. You are a problem. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say today about this issue, about this topic. I know it's long, but thank you so much for watching. And please, let's have these conversations. This is very important. It's a very interesting conversation, especially in South Africa. Very, very interesting, very important. But thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.